Okay, so Anthony and I went to Reno, Nevada, the weekend of his birthday in 2020. We were originally supposed to be there just a Friday and Saturday night. Ended up being there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. Because of what happened, we had to get an extra night. We went out to celebrate to a strip club. That's what he wanted to do for his birthday, so we went to a VIP room and a dancer there, and Anthony and myself partied all night until about 6 o'clock in the morning when the club closed. We then left the club by an Uber that I had ordered. The dancer that was there had been with us all night, which was also a witness in my trial. We took the Uber back to the hotel. Got to the hotel probably around 6:30 in the morning, where then he attempted to have sex with me, and I said no because I was tired and we had been out partying all night. At that point, he jumped out of bed and ran over to my side of the bed, calling me a fucking whore. I can be out all night, but not come home and fuck her man. He grabbed my boot that was on the ground and held it by the soft end of the boot and swung it around and hit me in the face 5 to 7 times with the heel of the boot. And then at that point, started strangling me with both of his hands, and I blacked out. I thought that I had died, and I don't know how long I was out for. But when I opened up my eyes, everything was blurry. I had blood pouring out of the back of my head, and I couldn't move my left arm. I couldn't open up my mouth. He was sitting on the ground next to me with his arms on the bed, saying, "I fucked up. I'm sorry, I fucked up." At that point, we both knew that I needed to go to the hospital, and it took probably about an hour, maybe an hour and a half at the longest, until he decided he needed to take me. And at the time, I knew I had to go along with whatever kind of story we came up with, because I was 4 hours away from home with him in my car, and also obviously at the time still loved him and thought I wanted to be with him. So we came up with the story together that I got jumped at the strip club. And when we got to the hospital, he dropped me off as he parked the car, and the front desk asked me what I needed to be seen for, and I told them because I got jumped. That was the only time the hospital asked me anything about the incident. That was the only time that the hospital had asked me anything about what had happened. They never asked me how, where, if the police were called, if I wanted to call the police. And he remained at my side the whole time we were at the hospital. Mind you, there were times he went to the bathroom and came back, but never once did they pull us apart and question him or I. But we went back to the room and had to get another night at the hotel because neither one of us had slept all night. I couldn't drive, and we ordered room service multiple times, of which included soup for me because I couldn't eat regular food, and I couldn't chew or swallow. The guy, room service guy, every time he came to our door, he was never allowed in the room. Anthony would crack the door and give him the money and take the cart himself. When we checked out of the hotel, he had me wear my sunglasses and my hat because he didn't want anybody to see me. We got back to my house and my kids were there, and I have an 8-year-old daughter, at the time was 6, and a 20-year-old daughter at the time was 18. My oldest already knew that we were lying and that he had did it to me because she had witnessed it before, firsthand, just not as bad. He then remained at my house for about 3 days. He would leave for work and come home from work, but he always came back to the house and was there with us every night and every morning. And the whole time I was going over in my head what I should do about it. I still loved him. I didn't want him to get in trouble. I didn't see it for what it was at the time, but I knew I had to do something about it. So when he finally left, that's when I had texted him about the $40,000 because at the time my whole side of my face was paralyzed. When he left my house finally and went back home to his house, that's when I had texted him about the $40,000. I thought that that was a fair amount for the lost wages, hospital bills, and plastic surgery on my face. The whole side of my face was paralyzed. It didn't move for 6 months, and he denied doing it, of course. I went to the police station, Anderson Police Department, after he denied it and said he's not paying me anything, and filed a police report. And then we talked, I want to say 4 or 5 months after, and I almost didn't follow through with the charges. He was still able to manipulate me into not following through with them at the time, and I almost gave him another chance. Those are the text messages that you see. I actually, in the past in Shasta County, for one of the earlier domestic violence incidents, did drop charges. I originally called the cops, and I did write a letter for him for the courts and stated I didn't want to press charges. But this time I couldn't do it. I knew it was different. I knew if I didn't stick to my guns, he would end up killing me or somebody else. So for the last 2 years, we have been going back and forth to court, and it's been pushed out by Anthony time and time again for multiple different reasons. We were scheduled for trial this last Monday, January 30th, 2023, and about a week before trial, the DA called me to tell me that there was a negative impact on the case, and he thinks that there might be a chance that we could lose now because one of the vital witnesses had dropped out, even though she didn't. It was the dancer. She had been strong-arming the DA and trying to get him to use a Jane Doe because she's a dancer and was worried for her and her family's safety. She didn't want her real name out there. The DA did not know she was strong-arming him and thought she wouldn't be there, so offered Anthony a deal. And of course he took it because originally he was facing 2 to 5 years prison for 2 Category C violent felonies, domestic violence by strangulation and domestic violence with substantial bodily injury. So going to court Monday morning, I didn't know if we were going to be picking a jury for trial the next day or if he was taking a deal. At court, he took the deal, and we were able to submit pictures and evidence for the judge's ruling, as well as me give my victim impact statement. During that time, Anthony had requested for a 6-week extension for sentencing, as well as the minimum for domestic battery is what was on the table for the deal, which would have been 2 days and 48 hours of community service for almost killing me. The judge saw right through his bullshit and denied sentencing to be pushed out 6 weeks, said he's pushed it out enough. The victim is here. She deserves for this to be done and over with. I am not giving you the minimum. I am giving you the maximum time for the charge. I don't know why this didn't go to trial. I'm pretty upset that it didn't. She said, "You, sir, show absolutely no remorse for what you did, and you're getting the maximum time, and you're going into custody right now." And they put him in cuffs. So he got 6 months and restitution of my unpaid hospital bills, because I have insurance and paid for majority of the emergency room visit, but not all of it. And for my chiropractic care, because I have scoliosis and arthritis in my neck now. And I don't have arthritis anywhere else in my body. It's caused from trauma. And he also has to take domestic violence classes as well. That was the end of it, I thought, at least. Until I got back to the hotel room and realized that his current girlfriend had posted all of our personal text messages, as well as a naked picture of me with the stripper from that night, altering every one of the text messages by blacking out certain things, circling certain things, arrows pointing towards certain things, painting a picture of exactly how he and her want me to look. I have since then filed charges against her as well for revenge porn and slander and harassment. I have had to keep my mouth shut for the past 2 years and 2 months because of court. I was advised not to share my story until he was convicted. I've had to listen to countless amounts of stories and lies that have been told about me from him in this small town that we live in without defending myself or telling the whole truth. The only people that knew the truth were people that were closest to me. He even had an employee meeting with his barbers and cosmetologists, showing them the video and the picture of me and the dancer that at the time I didn't even know he had taken. He was standing directly behind me, and you could tell from the angle that I wasn't even looking at the camera, had no idea he had done that. Showed them all of our messages of the quote-unquote extortion and naked pictures, and saying what I was saying was a lie and that he's going to win this case and it's all going to be dropped. They don't have to worry about their jobs. So that is half the reason why I made the post, and the other half is if I can just help one person that's in my situation get out of or put somebody away that's been abusing them, then it was all worth it. And so far I have already. That's probably all I have to say.